You're now tuned in to The Twisted Truth with Corey Wesley, where everyday conversations take an unexpected turn. Entrepreneur, artist, author, and truth seeker, Corey Wesley is here to challenge the way we think, question the norms, and bring fresh perspectives to life, business, and beyond. With unfiltered discussions, special guests, and real talk, get ready for a show that's bold, insightful, and always a little twisted. Buckle up, because the truth isn't always what it seems. And now, here's your host, Corey Wesley. Good morning and welcome to another episode of The Twisted Truth with me, Corey Wesley. I know it's been a minute. I have been thinking about content and what to talk about. And sometimes I would say I have podcast brain freeze because you want to be perfect and you want engaging content and you have all these things in your mind to talk that you want to do, but then you get frozen because you have placed so many expectations on yourself instead of just doing. But there's something that's been happening or that I've been thinking about, and this is from a business folks today. This topic is the one lesson that I have learned, and it's a very important lesson in business, is and this word is something that I constantly am repeating in my head, is pivot. The major lesson that I have learned in business and in life in general is being okay to pivot. A lot of people think when something isn't working that they have to keep plugging away at it. Like if you have a dream or vision for something, right, and you start working on it, and you're working on it and working on it and working on it, and then things don't just seem like they are going where that you need to go. Now, I will say, and I'm going to contradict myself, the process in achieving your goal is going to require a lot of mistakes, challenges, roadblocks. However, the question is a lot of times for business individuals is, when do you say enough is enough? And when I say enough is enough, I mean, when will I have to pivot? Okay, because I do believe in not giving up. I believe in the cornerstones of developing your craft, starting a business, launching your music career, whatever that may be. The beginning stages, I always say you don't start at the starting line right away. I say that you are making your way to the starting line. So everything that you're doing, right, up until the point that you get to the starting line is prep work in my eyes. However, that prep work is going to be a stepping stone. It's going to be lessons that you're going to learn. And as you see yourself progressing, I get up every day and work on my business, from SEO to meta tags to, the website design, posting on social media, different ways to see what's engaging, what's not, what's working, what could be enhanced or improved. But at one point or another, just recently, with my business platform and approach, and I guess this is why they say write a business plan. And however, I believe that you can't write. Yes, you can write a business plan in the beginning, but how do you know your business platform and the structure and the strategy and the approach that you're taking is working until you start doing stuff? And then I believe that the prep work, working on it, yes, I'm not saying you got to have it be perfect to present it to the mass. the mass audience or to your public, or the consumer. But what I'm saying is you have to know that during that process, you're going to develop new skills. You're going to see what's working, what's not. But in business, you have to think quick because you could be spending a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of effort. When you get to a roadblock, and I mean after a few weeks, I'm not saying a few days, I'm not saying that. I'm saying after a few weeks, even months, I say 5 to 6 months. If you've been working on something and you're not seeing any progress, you're not seeing traction, you're not seeing traffic, you're not seeing rich money coming in, sales, I would say that it may be time to look at the structure of what you're doing and pivot. Pivoting does not mean that you have failed. Pivot does not mean that you basically you haven't failed. I mean, a lot of people think that pivoting and changing is a horrible thing, and I know a lot of people are afraid of change. I would say a lot of people admire me and have told me personally that's the one skill set that they admire about me, that I am not afraid to change. I used to, when I first started being in business, I've been in business I started projects at 2007. And I gotta be honest with you, half of them weren't successful. And I kept changing. At that point, I was changing. But I've learned over time but what I will preface it is that once you realize you found your thing, because you'll know when you find it. And I hopefully you understand what I mean. Meaning, like, in your gut. I always say your gut will never lead you in the wrong direction. You know in your gut that this is right. This is it. I look at my art around my home. I put it up and I analyze it and I look at it and I think about it. And I was like, who am I marketing to? Who is my customer? And at first I was thinking that my art for Milton Wes art is for residential, and it is. But then I kept looking at it and looking at it and looking at it. And I was like, wait a minute. Marketing to residential people for art is one of the hardest things because one, you got to tap into people's personalities and ideas and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. I know I have a good product. I know it. I'm confident of it. And I'm manifesting. And I feel like I get closer and closer to the starting line, right, that I talked about, because I put in a lot of prep work, SEO. And then I said, wait a minute. I can't compete with Wayfair and Google and convince people that mass-produced art, everybody has it. Why not get something unique? Why don't you, me being a self-taught artist, I'm intimidated, I guess, and I will be honest about that with other artists who were formerly trained. And, and I do a very unique style of art. I use portrait faces, and I manipulate them. And they have stories behind them. And people might not gravitate to faces in their homes that they don't know, because I think people are so accustomed to having family photos and things of that nature, which I feel like now that we have Instagram and Facebook and all that, you don't need all that stuff around your house, because you can quickly log onto your phone and see those pictures. We're all living in a different time. And I think a lot of people don't elevate their home space. They elevate their home space with candles and sconces, and now they have wallpaper, and the tiles for the wall. But they never think about art. And art is something that I believe really is adds value to a home space. However, when I was looking at my art, I was like, oh my God, my art really would look great in a hotel lobby. And I started saying, well, there's bed and breakfasts. People are looking for interior designers are looking for art when they do staging. I have friends that are real estate brokers and agents. They are always looking for art and furniture and things. I'm like, well, wait a minute. I kept looking at one of them. I have an art piece called The Awakening, and I kept saying, this piece, something about this piece kept talking to me in my head. Oddly, I'm looking at it right now. And I kept saying, wow, I could see this in a restaurant. I could see this in a hotel lobby. I could really see this in a hotel hotel room, because there was one time that I went to a funeral in Norfolk, Virginia, and it wasn't intentional, but it was a rope, and it looked like a noose. And it made me uncomfortable. And it was a real beautiful hotel. And then I realized the hotels buy art, and they have the budget sometimes, And then I said, well, wait a minute. Okay, let's pivot. Let's change this direction. Let's change the strategy. Instead of doing residential, although my art is still for residential, high-end residential, hopefully that happens. But then I was like, oh my God, I've worked in corporate America. I've traveled from Paris to LA to Amsterdam. I've been all over. I've seen art, I've seen hotels, I've seen spaces. I've worked in corporate America. I've seen what creative environments, from model agencies to financial agencies. I was a corporate trainer for over 20 something years in finance. And then I've been in the creative field for quite some time. I've had my own online magazine. So I have some context of what people are looking for in settings that they're trying to make trendy, popular, sexy. I say for the grown and sexy. So then I said, I need to pivot because something was not working. And I know a lot of people are like, oh my God, you're always changing things. No, it's not that I'm always changing things. I'm comfortable as a business owner to say something's not working. That is the key to success, because once you employ something, you work on it, put it out there, and nothing's happening. Something needs to be changed. It's always like some people like to go on the hamster wheel. And yes, you do learn in that process, but sometimes that process is killing you and killing your business, because you have to constantly change in business. You have to be above, you have to be out above yourself to say, it's not working. Let's change direction. It doesn't mean that you failed, because I always say everything that you led you up to that you've learned. And I've learned I'm not going to keep investing money and doing certain things. That's what they say. If you keep doing the same thing, it's insanity. That's true for business too. You have to be smart about things. I don't know. I feel like as a business owner, you have to have your own personal timeline. Like, I feel like 3 to 6 months, because like with SEO and stuff like that, like search engine optimization and things like that, it takes anywhere from 2 to 3 months, sometimes 6. I like to say, if you are diligently working every day on something, putting in the hours, putting in the time, like it's now 5:22 a.m. I got up at 4 in the morning. I've done some work. I found out my site had some errors for SEO. I've been diligently fixing them. I've changed my approach from residential to commercial space art, all those things. And you have to, and a lot of people be like, oh my God, you went through all that work and now you have to change the direction of your website. And yes, that's hard work. But I know that I did that because I believe in my dream. I don't want to give up, because you can't give up when you work hours and hours and days and months. It is painful to give up after you dedicated your life, days, hours, no social life, all that good stuff. And I want to be honest with everyone out there. If you really are trying to follow your dream, you can't be half-ass about it. You really got to put in the work. I don't understand. People complain constantly. I know people who have big dreams, but then they complain because they have a 9 to 5. Well, get home and you need to work. Turn the TV off, put some music on, have a little content, and be on the computer. We have all this technology now that can speed up the process for certain things. Why aren't you utilizing it? And I believe that you can do multiple things at once. I am a caretaker. I want to start going to gym, and you just have to plan and strategically set everything in motion. But getting back to pivoting, it's not a failure. You have to be okay in business and in life. I'm realizing the word pivot applies to your life. If something is not working in your life or you're unhappy with something in life, I recommend pivoting. You know why? And using the word pivot, because it's a softer blow, I think. Yes, it's okay to say it's not working. Because I tell my friends and family when something's not working, and they be like, well, you've been working on it so long. Why are you changing? Oh my God. Because I'm not scared to say it ain't working. And unfortunately, when people have not attempted to be in business for themselves, or they rely on a 9 to 5 job, they may not understand what goes into owning a business, starting a career in industries that are really hard to tap into. I wouldn't say impossible, because anybody can do anything they want to do. We have all examples in the world that is possible. From humble beginnings to even those that are privileged, that are Nepo babies. Obviously, the things are possible. You just have to be committed. And the key in anything is to pivot. And I think what we have to do is change our mindset to saying that changing something is a failure. Because I don't feel like all the work that I did prior to or up to this point with my business and my art, that is a failure. It actually, all the things that in the past that I kept trying and trying and trying and trying and trying and trying and wanting to cry and be sad, and why is this not happening for me? I'm working, they say you put in the work and it works for you, it's gonna pay off. And I used to be yelling at people like, oh my God, they say if you put in the time and the hours and the work, that is going to pay off. That is true. It pays off, but it may not pay off in the way that you think it's going to pay off. And what I mean by that, it might not come financially. It might become in the skill set. I have learned so much from technology, Photoshop, Illustrator, AI, all the things that I did not know years ago. SEO, meta tags, meta descriptions, keywords, long tail keywords. I didn't know any of that years ago. I was a corporate trader in finance. I didn't know that stuff. And I went and I sat here and I learned all that. It did, and as I applied those skills, I realized that in the past, me doing that hamster wheel, going in, hoping and hoping, allowed me to learn that you don't want to waste time. Okay. That one, you don't want to give up, okay, on your dreams. You want to work on them. But you have to also know that as you work on them, the skill sets that you're working and you're applying them and things aren't changing, that maybe you have to weave and curve. There is no straight line. No pun intended. Happy Pride, everybody. But getting what you want, there's no straight path. I don't believe that. I now know that there is no straight path. And being honest with yourself that whether you're comfortable with the word, things aren't working, and change If you're comfortable in using that word, go ahead. But I find that change is very intimidating to people. And in business, I would say pivot. You're pivoting because it says you're not giving up. That means you're acknowledging that up until this point, things were working, but I hit a dead wall. I don't see that I can knock this brick wall down, but I'm going to climb over the brick wall, or I'm going to try to find a way to get around that brick wall. Okay? Because I feel like, yeah, there may be a brick wall, but that wall might not go too far. It might go 20 blocks and then an opening versus, never trying to get around the wall or across or climb the wall and go over it. If that makes any sense. But I just wanted to stop in and just let everyone know that, it's okay to make changes in your life. And I want everyone to feel comfortable in pivoting, whether it's a relationship, whether it's in business, or even in school. It's okay to change direction. And don't let anyone make you fearful of changing direction, because the one skill I believe all in all through life, and like in general, it's a life lesson that I've learned. It's okay to change and do it quickly, because we don't have a lifetime to live. I mean, we live for a short period of time. It may seem like a long time, but in order to achieve our dreams, we have to pivot fairly quickly. When we see something not working, we got to pivot real quickly so that we can achieve our dreams, so that we can enjoy our dreams at prime ages. I don't want to be 70 years old and finally. Now, there's nothing wrong with getting to achieve your dream at that age. Don't get me wrong. That is a wonderful accomplishment for those that go back to school, all that. But if you learn early on to say, not working, I'm going to pivot, I'm going to change, and still be excited about your dream, working towards a dream, but it just may look different. Because sometimes we see something and the universe or whatever, God, whatever you believe in, has a different plan for us. And that plan, we have to go with the flow. So I always say, trust your gut, love yourself, believe in yourself, and love yourself. And I believe you can only do that when you can say something's not working and then learn to pivot. Well, thank you for tuning in, stopping by, listening to my mumbo jumbo. Remember to love yourself, trust yourself, and believe yourself. And what I've added is trust your gut, because your gut will never lead you in the wrong direction. Please like, subscribe, share, tell everybody about the Twisted Truth. I just told you about the Twisted Truth, that you need to learn how to pivot. Have a good day, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. That's a wrap for this episode of The Twisted Truth with Corey Wesley. If you've enjoyed today's conversation, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share the show with someone who needs a fresh perspective. Remember to stay curious, stay bold, and always remember this: the truth isn't always what it seems. Until next time, keep thinking, keep questioning, and keep twisting the truth. See you soon.